Hey guys, this is Justin at the Survivor Review. Today we're talking about the season finale, episode 6, for season 10 of The X-Files. In a season that has really been hit or miss, I thought this was a strong way for it to go out. I actually really like this episode, despite its flaws. It has issues, it's not perfect, but I actually really enjoyed this one. This is the second Mythology episode of the season, and it ties back to the first one heavily, which actually kind of leads to one of the flaws with it, in the fact that with this only being 6 episodes, and this episode ties so closely to the first one, it makes everything in the middle of it feel like filler. Like, it really makes it just feel like filler while waiting for this finale. And I feel like if the season had more episodes, it really would have benefited from having another Mythology episode, like right in the middle there, leading into this one, because a lot happens in this episode. This episode is big, especially on an X-Files scale, where normally everything is low-key and doesn't really affect the rest of the world. This episode actually has stuff that affects the rest of the world, because the plot of this episode is that there's this huge virus going around causing the whole world to get sick, basically causing an epidemic, and it's because of the aliens. It came from the aliens. So this is like a huge deal, and it really felt weird to just have that happen in this episode. Like, the episode started out normal, and then all of a sudden there's a virus and everybody's getting sick. It kind of felt like there's something we should have had earlier on in the season, kind of built up to. Now, that being said, I still really like this episode. Again, I like it expanding and finally becoming a big scale thing. Like, not just a simple, small thing just involving Scully, Mulder, and the government. This is involving the entire world now, and I thought that was really cool. I like that. There's a lot of characters to talk about in this one, definitely. Yeah, you have the return of Einstein and Miller. They come back, sadly, but Miller is used okay, and Einstein at first just continued to annoy me so much in the beginning of this episode. Though she did have one great line where Ted O'Malley, the news reporter type of guy from the first episode, played by Joel McHale, is back in this one. And I like her line in the beginning where she goes, "And now Ted O'Malley is the voice of reason for everybody," or something like that. And I'm like, that is true, because it seems like he's not the kind of person that people would normally believe in any type of situation. So I'm like, okay, I like that line. But she annoyed me until she finally started to listen to Scully and actually do what she told her to do. Then, yeah, she became okay. And then I liked Miller going in and saving Mulder at the end. I like that. So they were okay. They weren't as bad as the last episode, though Einstein still annoyed me in that first half. And then you have the return of a character who I never thought I'd see on this show again. The return of Agent Reyes. I don't know, she was just the last character I would expect to pop up on the show. Like, I would have expected Doggett to appear on the show more than Reyes. But I actually liked her inclusion, and I actually thought her character made sense in the story. And her storyline was really interesting, too. That basically the Smoking Man called her to help him, and she's been stuck helping out the Smoking Man for the past 10 years, basically working for the Smoking Man. And I thought that was very unique. It was something I was not expecting. Also interesting to note the fact that Reyes had never had any interaction with the Smoking Man when she was on the show. So I thought that was interesting. I liked involving her in that. I thought that was really cool and very just unexpected. Like, I didn't see that coming. I thought that was really unique. So I liked seeing her, even though she was just in one scene. It was cool seeing her back. Again, that adds to the episode being rushed. The fact that she just appears in that one scene, explains the backstory, and then she's just gone. I would have liked to have seen her involved more. I mentioned this in other reviews when it comes to all the stuff with William and everything. I like that they are still acknowledging seasons 8 and 9, despite them not being the strongest of the season. They're not just throwing them away and ignoring them. They're actually still acknowledging that, and I like that by bringing in William to the storyline, which I'll get to actually in a little bit, and bringing back Reyes. I thought that was really cool. And then we have the Smoking Man coming back, and this also adds to the rushedness of the episode. Their big explanation for how he survived being shot at face first by a missile, he just got lucky and survived. It was very flimsy, just like, Reyes just walks into the hospital room and he's just there all burnt up in a hospital bed, just like, yeah, he made it. I was expecting something more. I was expecting a big explanation to it, or he was a clone or something. That's just yeah, he survived getting shot face first with the missile. Basically, we saw his skin burn off, and I was like, and he's just like, he's okay. And I was like, oh, it's a little underwhelming. And I like that pretty much all the scenes were with Mulder, because that's always like the core like struggle like of the show was Mulder going at Smoking Man. I like that, and his whole plot that basically he's involved with the whole alien thing, and basically the human race is all destroyed, but there's a select few that will survive, including Scully because she has alien DNA, and then he also has a vaccine for it, which he gave to Reyes to work with him. That's how he got her to work with him all this time. And then even the explanation that this whole virus thing was started in 2012 to connect it with the 2012 alien invasion that was hinted at earlier on. So they connected to it, although it still feels kind of like half-assed a little bit because from what it sounded like they were hinting at in the finale was an alien invasion, not just that they were going to cause everybody to get sick and die. So it was kind of cheap, but I like how they tied it back to that, and they didn't just kind of ignore it. So that's kind of what happened in 2012. Something did happen, but that's everything was just getting started. That wasn't the end game. And I'm like, okay, I'm able to buy that now. And one of the things I was noticing throughout this episode that I didn't notice when you first saw him in the first episode, I didn't notice this, is the fact that Smoking Man's face he seems to be kind of like stitched together, like they just put a skin graft on him to give him his face because his face was all burnt up from the explosion. And I'm like, oh, I see that. That's a really cool attention to detail. And then at the end, when he takes off his nose and this part of his face, like this side of his face, he takes it off to reveal that he has no nose and he's like just mangled under there. And I'm like, oh, dude, I like that. I thought that was really cool. I love that moment. Just a great moment. And then we get to the ending. Now, a lot of people are speculating how is this going to end because they never, and they still haven't, announced another season, or that they're doing any more, that they're doing anything else with X-Files right now. They haven't announced anything. So how is this going to end? Was it going to tie things up? Was it just going to end open-endedly and just leave it at that? That's how I thought it was going to end. I thought it was just going to be open-ended, and then, if they want to come back, they can. Well, this ends with a friggin' cliffhanger. This has a cliffhanger ending, which just, what? And the ending of this episode, Miller is driving Mulder, who is sick and dying, because he refused to join the Smoking Man and to get the vaccine from him, so he's dying, and they have to meet up with Scully on this bridge, so Scully can help out Mulder. And they end up meeting up, and Scully reveals what basically ties into the thread of this season, which is William, and she reveals that Mulder is just like way too sick at this point, and she needs stem cells from William, but they don't know where William is. And I thought that was just a great connection. Like, that's what they were building towards. That's why they had 2 episodes where the subplots involved William and involved them dealing with William, because that's what it was building to. And I like that. I'm like, okay, that was interesting. And then you have the final moment where a spaceship appears over the bridge, shines a beam of light right onto Scully and Miller and Mulder, and that's how it ends. What? Like, when they cut the credits, I was just like, are you kidding me? So they gotta do another season, right? I mean, nothing's been announced yet, and I know they have to work around David Duchovny and Julian Anderson's busy schedules, but they gotta at least have it planned. They can't just end it, right? I want to see how this is resolved. Like, really, I thought that was an interesting ending, especially because now that there are people on that bridge. So that alien ship is right out in the open. So people now know there's aliens. It's pretty obvious with the freaking spaceship. So that's really interesting. That just adds a whole new element to the show. The fact that now it's pretty much out there that there's aliens. It's not a government conspiracy anymore. It's not a secret. It's flat out there. So it leaves that open-ended. I want to see how they deal with that. And of course the whole William thing. Like, are they going to go try to find William to save Mulder? I mean, they got to save Mulder. What's going on with that? So, yeah, this leaves me with a bunch of questions. And I was nervous that it would, because I'm not sure if they're coming back for another one. But I love that ending. I thought it was just a great cliffhanger ending. So overall, I thought this episode was really good. I was a little skeptical going in because the first episode with all the mythology was a mess. I just muddled and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't really like it. So I was really nervous that this was going to be like that. And it wasn't. It was pretty well handled. It didn't get too messy. Everything that they were explaining seemed to make enough sense to me. At least like I was getting how it was connecting to the storyline and everything. And I liked it. This extension to the mythology I thought was actually interesting. The main problem is just that, again, things were just really rushed. And it really could have used some build-up in the middle of the season, because this is a big storyline, and it needed a lot more attention than just 1 or 2 episodes. It needed a lot more attention to it than that, and that was kind of just the major flaw with it. But overall, I really enjoyed this season. Sure, it's not great, or not the best thing in the world. What I took out of this season was that it was a fun reunion, basically. I feel like this is Fox just kind of testing the waters to see if there's still an audience for this show, and then they're going to come back in full force at a later time, whenever they're able to. Because that's basically what this felt like, because most of the season was just Monster of the Week episodes, just standalone, seeing if people still like that. Because if this was all mythology, then it would just be done for the fans and not trying to get new people in, which this show did. One of the things I'm really happy about it is I mentioned it in my review of the second episode that I watched that episode with my girlfriend and she really liked it. Well, we watched every episode together from then on, so now she is an X-Files fan, which is awesome. Hopefully we're going to get around to watching the original show together. I can actually show her the rest of the show. So that happened. I'm really happy I got that out of this season. Again, this was just a fun reunion, and I'm glad they did it. This was a lot of fun seeing these characters again, seeing some old school style episodes, especially the third one being a great episode, a legitimately great episode. I didn't think I'd be saying this after watching the first episode. I liked their extension of the mythology. The way they handled it in this one I thought was really interesting and unique and cool, and actually seemed to move the story forward. The problem with the first episode is I just felt very messy, just very kind of thrown together, and didn't really feel like it was actually adding anything. It was just like making it more confusing. This one, though, actually brought that idea into fruition and actually helped move the story forward into something that I really want to see explored in the next season. And I'm really excited for what comes next with the show. I really hope they announce something soon and we get another season just to explore this even more. And yeah, that's about it for now. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.